The anime begins with a boy named Cry, who is a not-so-great treasure hunter who wants to stop hunting, but his buddies just won't let him quit. The tale kicks off with a red-haired kid getting his 5 pals together to dream about becoming treasure hunters when they grow up, promising them adventures in treasure vaults filled with riches and fame. The 3 girls and cardboard boy are all in on the dream, except for one not-so-great-looking kid, Cry, who's just standing there. The red-haired kid keeps going, saying that if they chase after treasure, they could become the greatest heroes ever. The group then turns to Cry and suggests that one day they should all make a trip to the imperial capital, Zabia. This scene takes us back to Cry's childhood. Now, all grown up, he's strolling through the bustling streets of the imperial capital. He shares his thoughts on how being a treasure hunter can turn someone into a hero in this world. These hunters roam the globe, exploring ancient ruins known as treasure vaults to uncover hidden relics, all while facing off against dangerous creatures called phantoms. The rewards? Huge piles of wealth and a shot at fame. Most treasure hunters band together in clans for support, and the top clans in the capital are known as First Steps. Cry is on his way to one of their interviews, hoping to join their ranks. In this realm, a clan acts like a support network for adventurers, similar to an adventurer's guild. Solo hunters can only achieve so much on their own, which is why teaming up with a solid party is crucial for those looking to accomplish great things. Sadly, Cry has had his fair share of rejections from good parties, which is why he's here, ready to give the interview another shot. While he's standing in line, the girl behind him suddenly asks if he's also on the hunt for a party. She quickly apologizes for her random question, mentioning that everyone else seemed a bit scary, which is why she chose to talk to him. He can't help but think, yeah, a dude in a shady cloak covering his face totally screams, not creepy. The girl introduces herself as Rudder Runback, a hunter who just leveled up to rank 3. She extends her hand for a shake, but Cry awkwardly turns his face away, dodging the handshake, and introduces himself too. Ruda decides to spill the beans to Cry about her reason for being there, even though no one asked. She's been trying to tackle a treasure vault known as the White Wolf's Den, and thinks teaming up with a party might boost her chances of success. Just then, a hunter nearby catches wind of their chat and starts laughing at Ruda for thinking she can take on the White Wolf's Den at just level 3. With a smug grin, he tells her that someone like her has no shot at joining a top clan like First Steps. Ruda doesn't take it lightly and challenges him to a duel to show she's got what it takes. As their argument heats up, Cry starts to feel a headache coming on and decides to back off a bit. Ruda pulls out her knife, ready to fight, but a security guard steps in to break it up. He warns them that they'll both be kicked out of the interview if they don't cool it, so Ruda reluctantly puts her knife away. Things are finally calming down, and Cry feels a sense of relief, although he seems to be trying to keep his face hidden from the security guard. A few minutes later, Cry and Ruda walk into the clan's building. Ruda is taken aback by the sheer number of hunters there for the interview, but she notices that Cry looks unfazed, leading her to think he's been through busy interviews like this before. Cry mentions that this is his 5th time at the interview, and she realizes he hasn't managed to join a clan in any of the previous attempts. He explains that in the treasure hunter scene, skill is everything. Talented hunters can quickly climb the ranks and make a name for themselves, while those lacking talent have to hold on to the few chances they get. Ruda spots a flashy hunter party in the distance and asks who they are. Cry recognizes them as the Arc Brave Party, the top team in the First Steps clan. They just cleared a level 7 treasure vault with only 6 members. They're known as the best of the best, and their leader, Arc Roden, shines like a princess from a soap commercial. Cry encourages Ruda to give it her all to join their ranks, saying her chances of success as a hunter would skyrocket under Arc Roden's guidance. Unfortunately, there's a catch. The Arc Brave Party has never taken in a new member through these interviews, so they're really just there to show off. Ruda figures she has no shot at joining this party, so she turns her gaze and spots a desk in the back with just one empty chair. Greg, the guy from earlier, catches their chat again and teases Ruda for not getting what the empty desk signifies. He goes on to explain that the desk is owned by a party called the Grievers, who were the original founders of First Steps. A few years back, this group of young talents made a name for themselves in the capital. Their full name is the Grieving Souls, and all the members are Cry's childhood pals, the same ones we saw dreaming about becoming hunters at the start of the story. It looks like it's been ages since the grieving souls have opened their doors to new members, which is why so many hopefuls have shown up for the interview. Even those lone wolves who usually prefer to hunt solo are here, eager to join the ranks of the grieving souls. But it seems like the recruitment might not happen after all, since there's no one at the desk to conduct the interviews. Out of nowhere, a red-haired guy starts yelling that he's going to be the main character. But we all know that's not going to fly. He's really getting on everyone's nerves, so Tino, a solo hunter from the First Steps clan, steps in and challenges him to a duel. Cry senses trouble brewing and pulls Ruta aside before things kick off. Just as they're about to slip away, Tino spots Cry and rushes over, calling him Master. That's when Ark Roden, the leader of Ark Brave, shows up and spills the beans that Cry is actually the clan master of First Steps and the head of the Grieving Souls. I have to admit, I never thought this guy with no skills would end up being the best clan master. A few years back, Cry and his buddies showed up in the capital, chasing their dream of becoming the top treasure hunting team. Greg always said Cry was the standout with his insane talent, and he ended up forming the strongest crew with his childhood pals. But Cry has a different take on it. He looks back and remembers how his friends were the real stars, smashing through beginner treasure vaults in no time. There was this one time a monster jumped Cry and his red-haired friend swooped in to save him. Compared to his friends, Cry felt pretty average and thought he was just getting in their way. They were nice enough not to call him weak or talentless though. Eventually, Cry figured out that if he stuck around too long, he'd just be a burden, so he made the tough choice to leave the group. One night, he invited his friends over to show his appreciation for all their support, but instead of letting him go, they insisted he stay and lead them. Convinced he had a knack for public speaking, they pretty much made him stick around, and that's how Cry ended up being the head of the Grieving Souls and the clan leader of First Steps for years, despite not having any real talent. He's been longing to step back from hunting, which is why he's known as Let This Grieving Soul Retire. Ruta and Greg are totally shocked to learn that Cry is actually the clan master of First Steps. Ark Roden asks Cry why he showed up so late, and Cry just says he overslept. Ark isn't buying it at all, and Cry mentions that none of the hunters in the guild ever take him seriously. Ark starts joking around with Cry, which really annoys Tino. She tells Cry to just kick Ark out of the clan. Tino is a fiery solo hunter and an apprentice of Cry's childhood buddy Liz. She keeps bickering with Ark, but he brushes her off and asks Cry if he has anyone in mind for the clan. Cry insists he's found the perfect fit for the Ark Brave party, even though they're already at capacity. He tells Ark to just pick this candidate without any interviews since it's the clan master's order. Ark goes along with it, but his teammates aren't thrilled about Cry pushing his choice on them. Just as Cry is about to name his pick, Tino jumps in, saying she really wants to join his party. Meanwhile, Gilbert, the fiery redhead, starts yelling at Cry again, demanding that everyone gets a fair shot. Cry thinks about giving Gilbert a chance and suggests him to Ark, but he has one condition. He asks Gilbert if he knows what's most crucial for a hunter. To Cry, the answer is simple. A hunter must never lose, because a weak link can put the whole team at risk. Gilbert needs to show Cry that he's tough enough to hold his ground. Cry can't help but brag about his undefeated record, and everyone's singing his praises. What they don't realize is that Cry has never actually been in a real fight, which is why he's never tasted defeat. He pulls off one of the 10 rings he's wearing and holds it up for the hopefuls, saying that if they can get it to Ark Brave's leader, Ark Roden, he'll put in a good word for them. Then, he tosses the ring to Gilbert, but just as Gilbert reaches for it, Tino charges in and knocks his head away with a fierce kick. She decides to snatch the ring for herself, but a bunch of hunters rush in all at once, turning the scene into total chaos. Cry points out that his ring is a priceless relic, so whoever manages to grab it will get to keep it. He wishes them luck and strolls off, saying goodbye to Greg and Ruta while everything around them goes up in flames. With nothing else on his agenda, Cry makes his way home. His place is actually a fancy mansion, serving as the official residence of the First Steps clan. One day, Eva Rened, the vice clan master, drops by his room to let him know he's made headlines due to a massive brawl that erupted earlier. Apparently, the recruitment interview turned into a total disaster, leaving the whole venue in shambles, but thankfully, no one got hurt. The article wraps up by saying, "The Explorers Association expects Cry to take the blame for what happened." Eva mentions that Ark Roden has already seen the piece and isn't taking it seriously at all. Cry feels a bit relieved that Ark isn't stressing over it, but instead of owning up himself, he decides to stick the repair costs on Ark's tab and tells Eva to send Ark to the Explorers Association in his stead. Eva is trying to get Cry to head over to the Explorers Association on his own, but Cry is totally against it. He just can't bring himself to go outside without someone to watch his back. He knows that if he stays put, Gark, the branch manager, will come knocking on his door. In the past, Cry would sneak out in disguise using a special relic, but that thing is toast now after too much use. Eva keeps telling him that there's no one out there who would bother him during the day if he goes solo. So, he finally decides to trust her and makes his way to the Explorers Association. When he arrives, he practically drops to his knees, begging for forgiveness before Gark can even start laying into him. He swears he didn't mean to stir up any trouble and keeps apologizing. Gark says he'll let it slide this time, but only if Cry's clan takes on a job for the association without pay. The Explorers Association has a bunch of gigs for hunters, but a lot of them don't pay much, so hunters usually pass on them. Gark wants Cry's clan to take on those low-paying jobs for free. Cry picks one right away, a rescue mission, and decides to hand it off to Ark Roden. When he gets back to his clan's base, Tino tells him that Ark has already set off on a job. Tino is eager to prove she's good enough to be Cry's wife, and shows him the ring she snagged during a fight at the venue. To show his appreciation, Cry pulls out the quest he got from the Explorers Association, but before he can even start reading it to her, she takes off. Unfortunately for her, Cry has a ton of powerful relics, and he uses one that can transform into a hound dog to catch her. Tino pleads with him not to send her on the mission alone since she's not that strong yet, hinting that she wants him to join her. Instead, Cry pairs her up with Greg, Ruta, and Gilbert, sending them all on the risky mission while he kicks back and enjoys the show. I hope you enjoyed this anime as much as I did. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like this video for more content like this.